Welcome to the Friday edition of Juan's World, and I've put the camera in a slightly different place so that I can still have the kitchen in my background. Still not exactly tidy, but tidiness is not my long suit, not even close. It is always clean. I keep everything scrupulously clean, but I do not keep things tidy. So I am going to do some cooking today, and the episode is going to be a bit of a jumble for a variety of reasons. If you are a long-standing subscriber to my channel, you'll know that I used to cook on Tuesdays, but occasionally I cooked on Friday, and I'm going to cook today a little bit, and then I'm going to continue on Tuesday. And my main theme is what I started last Tuesday when I started talking about how I was trying to find a substitute for suet so that I could make suet puddings, and I had hit upon using belly pork. Well, I'm going to continue that today. I'm going to talk about belly pork. I'm going to show you some belly pork. And I'm going to show you the starting recipe, because I broke down the belly pork into the fat, which I'm going to use for the dumplings, which I will talk about next time, and the lean meat, which I use to make pork bulgoki, which is a classic Korean dish. But I also, in the process of finding the belly pork, discovered some Cambodian basil, or sometimes called royal basil. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put this in water because I'm going to see if it will revive itself. Well, right now it doesn't look very revived. But I thought, okay, well, it's basil, I've got garlic, I've got olive oil, I'll make pesto. It's not going to be pesto genovese from Genoa, where pesto comes from. A, because I don't have pine nuts. B, because I don't have Italian basil. But I do have Cambodian basil. So let's see what I can do with that. All right, so let's get started. So let's just simply work on the pesto first. I haven't actually used it yet, so I can't give you an absolutely full and complete guarantee that it's any good. But I did get going. First of all, I stripped the leaves off the basil. You can see now they're looking pretty sad. You just take the leaves off the basil. Place them in my container where I also can use my immersion blender. Place them in there with some garlic, which I've not really done much with, except I've taken the outer skin off, and olive oil, and I've actually used monosodium glutamate in here. I know a lot of people get upset that they think that monosodium glutamate is poison or something or other, but monosodium glutamate is the umami flavor of things like seaweed and mushrooms and avocados and goodness knows what else. It's fine in small portions, just like salt is fine in small portions. So anyway, I put them all together, blended them up, which I'm not going to show you a video of because it's so noisy. And here's my finished pesto, which in a day or so I will add to spaghetti, I think, or maybe some other kind of pasta, don't know. Anyway, put it in the fridge. It will keep for a very long time. But then I set my mind to the belly pork. And in Asia, you can buy belly pork in various ways, in various markets. I got a couple of pieces here, you can see that were very fatty. That was particularly what I wanted because I want the fat. I want the fat to replace my suet. And this was the best I could get. So the first step was to take the skin off the belly pork. Skin is delicious. If you roast it at a very high temperature, it makes what we call crackling in England. Has different names in different parts of the world. I made some crackling out of the skin. It involves slicing fairly shallow cuts into the skin and then dousing in salt and roasting at a very hot temperature for about an hour or more, and it's quite delightful. And then what I had left was the fat and lean together, so I separated out the fat and the lean, and I chunked up the fat a little bit. It's now in the refrigerator, and that's going to be Tuesday's recipe. That's going to be the steak and kidney pudding, because I've bought some steak, I've got some kidneys, so I'm all ready to make my steak and kidney pudding. But for now, I am going to take care of the lean meat, and this will be pork bulgoki. All right, so here's pork bulgoki, which is a very classic Korean dish, although it's normally made with beef, but they can also make it with pork or with chicken. And this is going to be the meaty part of the belly pork. So I've got one leek, which I'm going to put on high heat just for about a minute, and there are some remnants of the pork fat in the frying pan. And now I'm just going to get this nice and hot. Add a little bit of olive oil. It's a little bit dry. No need to add too much because I'm going to be adding the pork in a second, and that's really fatty. Okay, so now we're cooking with gas. I'm going to add the pork. I'm going to sear this off. wish I had my Chinese kitchen where the burners were just like gas flamethrowers, really, really hot. Even my induction burner in my kitchen in Kunming used to get pretty hot. This is not bad, but it's not the heat that you get for really, really flash stir frying, but it'll work. Good enough. The next step, I'm going to add a commercial mix, and I'll put the ingredients on the screen. It's a mix of garlic, soy sauce, hot peppers, some spices, and then I'm going to also add just a little bit of water, and then I'm going to cook everything down. So I just need to cook everything through, and then I'm going to make some rice to have with the dish. So I'll be back in a few minutes. So here's the finished product. I cooked some rice. This is actually basmati rice because I've got 5 kilos of it because I couldn't get anything smaller. So I made some basmati, and here's the Korean bulgoki with it. And I'll show you next time what I did with the pesto. It's another fusion thing, but that's for next time. All right, so that's complete recipe number 1. Very, very delicious. I enjoyed it immensely, and as always, I make too much, so I'll be eating pork bulgoki for the next day or so. Or maybe I'll put some of it in the freezer, I don't know. Although my freezer is getting pretty well packed, because I got a little worried the other day when the government said we may have to have lockdowns again because of Omicron. And so I immediately went out and bought loads and loads and loads of meat and vegetables and so forth to freeze just in case. Probably not going to happen, but there's not much room for pork bulgoki, so I think it's going to be down the hatch with it. And on Tuesday I'm going to show you my steak and kidney pudding recipe, which I think I've done before using butter. This will be using my new food processor and pork fat, and I'll show you how that's done. So meanwhile, have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday.